What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Yesterday we had two new members, which I'm so thankful for. Lady Princess Diana and Strike Z. Thank you so much for joining us. It really does mean the world to me, and just for everyone, I know I say it every day, but for taking the time out of your days to come here, you know, and interact with the channel, interact with me, it's just absolutely amazing of you. So thank you so much. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from Am I the Arsehole Playground. Am I the arsehole for telling a deaf kid's mum that she's holding her son back? My Jack, 10, is very quiet. He likes to read. He likes the quiet. He likes bright visuals and museums. He didn't speak for a long time. He loves to learn, and he's got a tiny group of friends, but he's happy and always looking for more. Jack is autistic and doesn't like much noise. Jack met James at the playground we go to. James is deaf, and he's got a serious case of a helicopter mum. They waved and talked and ran around before we left, and we've been almost every day since, and they've seen each other. Because James is deaf and isn't extremely loud and understands that about Jack, they become very good friends. Jack came to the conclusion that James can read and write like him, and so he got a little pen and notebook, and he had me put him on YouTube so they can try and learn some sign language. Friend, play, run, would you like to go with me to hello, and other friendly things, and now they're best friends. Jack recently had the idea, because James can't hear, they have to do things with seeing. We live near a big and beautiful aquarium, and Jack had the idea that we could all go together. Me and my husband would be with James' parents, and they could be actual friends outside of the playground setting. I approached James' mother to ask them yesterday, and she informed me that she didn't want the boys to get too close because James is deaf and they don't want him to make too many friends that aren't, because he's already at a disadvantage and she doesn't want him to be left out. I informed her that if her son was going to be in public school and entering the world, he'd have to get used to being deaf and having all sorts of friends, and all she was doing was pushing away the friends that he could be making and being selfish while not looking after what her son wanted. I don't know what happened exactly, but I got a call last night from James's father, with James screaming in the background, and everything has been set up. We're going with him and his wife, stepmom, on Friday and calling it a day. We'll all wear masks and have a nice outing, and it's all completely fine. The boys are both extremely excited to go together. I saw his mum at the playground this morning, and she was quite aggressive, telling me I should have never set up the playdate and involving her ex-husband. I told her that if she only thought of her feelings, there was a reason her son had to go to his dad and be able to see his friend. I walked away from her. Am I the arsehole? I can't say that OP is the arsehole simply because, you know, she's totally right that James one day is going to go into the big bad world, going to go to school, and he's going to have to be involved with other children in some way or some form. Otherwise he's going to be totally secluded from everyone else, and it won't be fair on him. And doesn't OP's son sound amazing to go onto YouTube to try and learn sign language by himself? What an amazing thing to do, to include someone and to make the suggestion of going to the aquarium. How lovely and wholesome is that? I absolutely love that. And let's have a look at some of the comments below to see what they say. Mr. Two Scoop says, not the arsehole, you handled it calmly on your end and didn't overstep anywhere. The dad stepped up and thankfully did the responsible thing for his son. Eternal Entropy says, not the arsehole, although your tone of delivery could swing that a little. Like, if you were aggressive in your face and confrontational with it, then a very soft arsehole for delivery, not content of what you said. Your son sounds like a great friend for James. The fact that Jack wanted to learn a little sign language to communicate better and suggested ideas for activities they could both equally enjoy is amazing. James's dad called you to set up the playdate. His mum sounds like she has some control issues. Sheltering will hold James back and likely disadvantage him more, which is a real shame. Parents don't like to hear that they might not be doing what's best for their kids, but sometimes they really aren't. And Functioning Disaster says, not the arsehole, and you're raising a wonderful kid. I don't claim to understand much about the difficulties that deaf and hard of hearing people might run into, but I have a couple of deaf friends who have told me about issues they've had with overprotective parents like this when they were young. They had such a hard time opening up with me and becoming friends with me because they just weren't used to it without their parents' interference. Keep in mind, deaf culture can be very different from the hearing culture you and I might be used to. Try to be patient as your child may begin to navigate two different cultures in close proximity. And Thea M says, not the arsehole, but I had to comment. Little Jack sounds so adorable. I love that he decided that because his friend can't hear, they have to do seeing activities. That is so thoughtful and very moving. You are clearly an amazing parent. Yes, an absolutely amazing kid, but what do you guys think of this story? Is the mum just sort of, is she being overprotective, do you think, in this situation? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from SorryFail7097. Am I the arsehole for telling my dad if he marries his girlfriend I will permanently cut him out of my life? I, 26 male, have an extremely strained relationship with my dad, 54 male. He and my mum divorced when I was 12 because he was cheating on her with someone half his age. This became a common thing. I'd come over for weekend stays with him a few times a month, and he'd introduce me to his new girlfriend, who would rarely be more than like 6 years older than me. When I turned 16, I just stopped seeing him altogether and lived full time with my mum. He never really provided for me, and I don't consider him a real parent, as he spent more time and money chasing after women young enough to be my sister. We started getting back in contact when I went to college, with the condition that he never introduced me to another relationship, unless it was serious and they were planning to get married or make some kind of commitment to each other. Well, it happened. My dad decided to settle down. He told me he was planning to propose to his girlfriend, who he's been seeing since just before the world ended, which, I guess to be fair, is longer than most of his relationships. So I asked about her, and it turns out she's my high school girlfriend. What the actual fuck? I'm extremely creeped out by this. I don't think I need to write out why. This makes me beyond uncomfortable. Not only that, but my dad knows I dated this girl. He knew this because how they fucking met. I honestly want to throw up every time I think about this. I told my dad this wasn't okay. It took everything in me to keep from completely losing it. But I told him if he marries her, I will never speak to him again. This was non-negotiable. I left soon after that, despite his protest, and I'm holding firm on this. However, he's been sending me messages and calling me, asking me to talk and understand his side, telling me he's finally found love. But I just get so angry and disgusted every time he messages me, I just ignore it. I apologise for any grammar or spelling errors. I'm admittedly a little drunk now, but am I the arsehole if I cut him off if he marries this girl? Now in this one, I don't know if people are going to say like, you know, he can marry who he wants and all this kind of thing, but if I was in OP's situation, I'm pretty sure I would feel highly uncomfortable and probably the same sort of road that I can't face you two together. You know, that's my ex-girlfriend from high school. I think I'll be totally freaked out too. So I ain't got too much more to say from that, apart from not the arsehole. You know, I think you're totally valid in the way you're feeling, but Little Bit says, not the arsehole, your dad has issues, serious issues, and he hasn't finally found love. He wants this one all the more badly because he can't have this one, and now he calls this act of desperation love. Roman 1969 says, your father has issues, that's for sure. Seems like he's competing with you on some level. No contact 100%. It's one thing creeping on a woman half his age, but he crossed a big fat red line when he hooked up with your ex. Just bleh. Does he have money? Is this why she's with him? Regardless, not the arsehole, and I'm sorry you're going through this. Darthy MacDougall says, not the arsehole. It's bad enough when friends date someone you used to date, unless they talked to you first and got your blessing, but your father! Cut him off, whether he marries her or not. And Skate Pebble says, wow, this took an unexpected turn. You're definitely not the arsehole. You already have a lot of reasons to cut your dad out of your life, and this one surely takes the cake. Peace out and cut all contact. L Captain 2020 says, not the arsehole. If it was just somebody younger than him, then that's one thing, but somebody his own child has dated? No, that's really, really messed up. It's fair enough you gave him his ultimatum. He would, or at least should, have known you'd be displeased about this, and if he isn't able to empathise with that, it's fair enough to cut their relationship totally off. Now, what would you do if one of your parents dated one of your exes and they're half the age? How would you feel about that? Would you cut them off, or would you be totally cool with it? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next story is from Grow Away Mip. Am I the arsehole for going off on my dad for fighting for custody when my mum moved away, disregarding my wishes? A year after my mum remarried and had a child, she was deployed to another state. I was 7 and wanted to go with her. But my dad fought the move, and since my mum initiated the move, my dad got full custody and she got summer vacation and holidays to have me stay with her. I understand my dad's perspective, but I was always closer to my mum and I begged him to let me go. But my dad was adamant. He was not a bad father by any means, he definitely loved me and my stepmum is a very nice person. But I had a huge chip in my shoulder where I felt like he denied me a better life with the parent I preferred to live with. My youngest sibling has access to a lot more than I ever did by living with my mum, and most importantly, he's grown up with more of mum's love and attention. I get very jealous about it. I'm now 16 and I have a choice to go live with my mum, but I'm choosing to stay because I'm only a year from graduation and I'm in sports that I need to get into college. But I got into a huge fight with my dad the other day. I basically cursed him out for being selfish and an arsehole for doing what was best for him and not me. He told me he tried his best, but I told him his best wasn't good enough. I told him I'm going to college in mum's state and I doubt I'll be coming to see him much anymore. He started crying and saying sorry and I felt bad, but what's the point of apologising now? I asked him so many times over the year to let me live with my mum, but he said no. I haven't talked to my dad for the past week and I don't plan to anytime soon. Am I the arsehole? Now from the use of deployed at the start, I assume it's a military type thing. And what I don't know, and maybe you can help me out with, is that if you do get like redeployed somewhere, is that a choice you can make if you have a family? Can you say, no, I prefer not to do that, I want to stay in the same state? Or do you have to go? Do you have to do what the army says? Because otherwise there's lots of choices going on in this story. Like if the mother did have a choice that she could move away, that's a choice she made. She chose knowing that, you know, that she might lose custody of OP. Then the father had to make the choice like, I want OP to stay with me, I don't want to lose them. You know, it's incredibly tough. Incredibly. Imagine being a father or a mother and your spouse was going to take them away. What do? You can't just say, oh, okay, they want to go, so I'm going to have to lose them. I'd find that incredibly tough myself, and a battle within myself as well, I think, to lose your own little one. Man. And you can tell from the way OP talks about their dad in the story that they're not a bad person. They're sitting there crying because OP's saying that they don't want to be with them anymore. How heartbreaking must that be? So I got to say, in some ways, OP is slightly the arsehole, but I am confused as well because, you know, should they have the choice at that age to do what they want? You know, to know what's best for their own selves at the age of 7? Wow. Confused on this one, but let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Midwest Page Turner says, you're the arsehole. This is so hard to hear. I understand where you were coming from, but let me clear one thing up first. He did not choose to have primary custody of a 7-year-old because he wanted to do what's best for him. There is literally no way that raising you made his life easier. He chose this arrangement because he believed it'd be better for you. One more misconception, unless your mum moved because she absolutely had to, like really had to, she is the one who left you. The only times this would be an understandable move if she was fleeing something seriously, like a dangerous situation or poverty or something. Almost everything else was a choice she made. Moreover, she could have moved back at any time, but she chose not to move back for you. I'm being pretty harsh here because I think you need to look at this through clearer eyes. You're not seeing your mum as being innocent in this, being punished by your dad, but that is absolutely not the case. Your dad is not the villain here. As a mum myself, if I found out that my optional move were to cause me to lose so much custody, that move would be cancelled immediately. Scratch that, I don't even think I would consider leaving my 7-year-old child behind. Lastly, you have some serious grass is greener views right now. A parent that doesn't have primary custody easily can be the fun parent. Think about it. If you're the parent that never has to deal with homework, doctor's appointments, rise to activities, etc., it stands to reason that you get a bit of vacation syndrome with your mum. Just something to mull over. Please, you need therapy. I hope your dad is strong enough to forgive you for your very hurtful attack. Howard Project says, no one's an arsehole here. Former military here. Your mother made a choice, and it's one that many military members face. It's tough enough being in the military knowing that you'll be away from your family and children on a regular basis. It gets considerably more difficult when you have children and are no longer in a relationship with the other parent. Add to that, it's not unusual to go on and have children in a second relationship, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at that point, it's inevitable that you'll wind up being pulled in three directions between the commitment to your career and the commitment to your children from each of those relationships. Your father also had to make a choice. He had to choose between fighting to keep you in his life or allowing you to move with your mother. And for as long as she remained in the military, she would continue to move every couple of years, and it'd be very difficult to maintain a regular visitation schedule with you. There was no way of predicting which situation would be easier for you. But for every kid in your situation who is angry at the parent who has custody, there's another kid for whom things went in the other direction and is angry at the parent who did not fight to keep them. There's no perfect solution in your situation. Both of them love you and both of them did the best they could. I think that's really hard to see as a teenager who misses his mum. And I think those two comments, they explain a lot, and I think it's best to leave it on that and then ask you what you guys think of this story. Who do you think is right in the situation? The OP, the mum who moved away, the father? Did they make the right choices? Is no one the arsehole here? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for refusing to let my mum see my 2-month-old daughter after she disowned me? I, male 27, met my now wife, female 35, who was a single parent with 3 kids. She was 8 years older than me, and we met when I came home. We started dating, I met her kids, and they seemed so sweet, and we got on pretty well. And I felt relieved because I was worrying too much my stepkids wouldn't like me, but I'm grateful to have met them and their mother. My mum went crazy when I told her. She started arguing a lot, telling me that marrying a single mother who's older than me wasn't going to happen. She got the whole family to agree with her, and tried pressuring me into going out with someone from the church who's nearly the same age as me. I got fed up with this, and I left after I told her no, and I was going to get married to my now wife, with or without their approval. My mum casually sent me a text the next day that she and the entire family disowned me and that I will never be allowed to come home after that. Then everyone blocked me and refused to talk to me. My wife and I got married 2 months after I left home. We've now been married for 2 years and we have a 2-month-old baby girl. She's the only girl with 3 boys, so she was a sweet new addition to our family. Last week I started receiving calls from a number that I didn't recognise till I found out it was my mum. She knew that my wife and I had a baby girl and wanted to see her, saying that my daughter is her grandbaby that she has a biological connection to. I spoke with my friend who admitted telling my family about our newborn and how the whole family was excited to meet her. My sister reached out to me after I refused to let my mum visit and told me that was being cruel and unfair to her for not wanting her to see her grandbaby. She told me that I shouldn't forget that my daughter is family and that will never change no matter what. I got mad. I just couldn't help but get mad and argue with her because everyone sided with my mum who disowned me and told me not to come home ever again. And now they think I'd allow my mum to see my daughter because she is family to her. They tried to set up a meeting twice but I refused. They're calling me cruel and using my daughter to get back at my mum for personal issues we had before. Completely forgetting what she did to prevent me from being with my wife. I always struggle with these stories when a newborn or children are separated from the rest of the family because of arguments that's going on between them. But at the same time, that is just a flaw of mine because you can't be the arsehole in this story. They disowned you. They removed you from the family and now they're saying, oh yeah, because we're family. Fuck no, they kicked you out. I was personally in that situation, they'd have to do a lot of groveling, which it doesn't even sound like they're doing. They're just saying that granddaughter is family, sort of like she or he is blood, so we're allowed to see it. It's our right. Like they have a right to do that, but they totally don't. We see that a lot in these Reddit stories where the argument is always, because we're family, like that means anything. You can just be an arsehole all your life and then get away with the excuse, we're family. Yeah, right. Not the arsehole, but let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Grim Drake says, not the arsehole, your mother disowned you and organised the rest of the family against you to try and prevent you from being with your wife. You don't owe her or them anything. And then quotes, saying that my daughter is her grandbaby that she has a biological connection to, and says, funny how she wasn't concerned about her even more direct biological connection to you, her own son, when she decided to disown you. And quotes again, she told me that I shouldn't forget that my daughter is family, and that will never change no matter what. And then says, being family doesn't make you less of an arsehole. Also, if being family never changes no matter what, why did she decide to disown you? You can't have this both ways. Note, I personally don't think being family creates an unbreakable bond. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy. This is one of those cases where you reap what you sow. Your mother did this to herself. She has no right to blame anyone else. Bride's Wail says not the arsehole if, after they've made it up in terms of changing their behaviour and genuinely apologising, etc., you decide to re-establish a connection, that would be one thing, but they're repeatedly shown that they have no respect for you or your wife, your boundaries or your life choices. Block their numbers, put the leak friend on standby and move on with your life. Congrats on your baby. Dope says, not the arsehole, your wife is 2 months postpartum and very vulnerable. Do not let your toxic mother into your lives right now. Maybe when this kid is older you can revisit if you're really feeling guilty, but absolutely not now. Abandon all hope says, not the arsehole, she had the chance to be a grandparent to your 3 stepchildren and she blew it. She would play favourites and cause long-term damage. Yeah, let's not forget she had the chance to be a grandparent to 3 children that were being introduced into that family. How special is that? That her son was introducing these children and she decided to disown them because, you know, she's a single mother. That blows my mind, honestly. Now, what do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and don't forget to come join us on Discord for a Halloween competition which is coming in a couple of days. Come get involved there too. Lots of wholesome people in there and they'd love you to be a part of our community too, I'm sure of it. So yeah, I hope to see you soon. Take care, much love.